A lot of debate on X today about these foreign H-1B visas. Vivek Ramaswamy definitely stirred the pot in a massive way with this post here, which we're going to go over. We'll take a look. It's pretty crazy. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit. Lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated, spread, basically mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. So far, I pretty much agree with what he's saying. Now, it gets to the parts where a lot of people disagreed, myself included. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. So as I said, a lot of people had a problem with that line, that little mini paragraph, and I'm right there with them. If you want to question the culture thing, the laziness of American Western society, you could do that. It's not the jock or the prom queen that are the problem. The jock and the prom queen, in their own way, are still chasing excellence. They're not being lazy. Not everyone is going to code. Like the jock athlete, say he ends up being, in the future, maybe a professional athlete, or maybe he takes those habits from being like a successful jock. If you're someone that people consider a jock, you're probably successful enough, whatever, at athletics. Maybe you become a cop, a firefighter. You start like a successful HVAC company, something like that. I think if you want to criticize culture in America, a better way, Carl Icahn, the famous investor, talks about this. The problem really, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, it's the chill dude that just kind of does nothing, never ruffles any feathers, just kind of hangs around, and he's good at quote unquote networking. Then he just gets promoted through corporate America up and up and up until he's the second to the CEO because he doesn't pose a threat. So people feel comfortable oh, this guy's good, but he's not that smart. So he doesn't ruffle any feathers. He never says anything controversial. I think that's a far more legitimate criticism of some of the corporate culture that happens in a lot of massive companies. Okay, so continuing on, a culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, or Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. So Vivek in this post, again, he's very concerned with engineers. I'm not familiar with any of those shows other than Boy Meets World, Corey. Maybe that kind of fits what I'm saying, that Corey was just kind of seen as a non-exceptional person to Vivek. I don't really know, but anyway. This next part, again, this is wild. So he says, fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity. And their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. So, I mean, it continues in a second. That's a crazy statement to make if you want to remain in politics. That's essentially insulting not the American workers. You're basically insulting their parents for raising them incorrectly. That's crazy. People maybe between 50 and 70 years old would fall into that bracket of Vivek basically saying, oh, you let your kids become mediocre. In a roundabout way, he's kind of saying that. Again, politically, maybe he doesn't want to run again, but that is wild a statement to make, in my opinion. Then he goes on here, more movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends. I kind of agree with that. There is a lot of trash TV, but more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers. That part, a lot of people were dunking on that as well online. I don't know what, that might be that's just weird. Fewer sleepovers. I don't think any kid has had so many sleepovers in life that they become unsuccessful. More weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. Most normal, this is a wild one as well. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kind of parents. More normal American kids view you maybe worded that a little bit off. Maybe I just don't get it. Those kind of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy is what you will achieve. So again, that's going at the parents. I don't know if he just doesn't want to have a future in politics, but those are wild statements to be making. Maybe he just ran for president this time to try to get an in with the administration. Now he's in with DOGE, so he considers that a win. And again, that just to me for sure looks like a dig at parents. And not only is it like a dig at them, he's saying they're too like ignorant to realize that the immigrant way is actually better. Normalcy is what you will achieve. So basically the sentiment of this entire post is that immigrants have better habits and are better parents, and quote unquote normal Americans whose family, I guess, have been in America for a little bit longer, they don't even realize that their way of parenting is worse, because he says, these parents look skeptically at those kind of parents. So not only are you like a worse parent, you're incorrectly misjudging and looking down on the immigrant parents, but their way is actually superior to yours. Like, there's a lot baked into what he's saying here. It's crazy. And then, okay, continuing on. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s or even now who raised their kids according to one model versus the other. Be brutally honest. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. I'll come more to that in a second, the technical part. And if we pretend like it does, we'll have our handed to us by China. This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from slumber before, and we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. So, I mean, in that little thing, I pretty much agree with that chunk, at least, of this statement. That's the work we have cut out for us. Rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislating alternative hiring practices into existence, I'm confident we can do it. Double American flags. And just so we're all clear on the context, X has this new kind of button, which is pretty interesting. It kind of brings up, or it says explain this post. If we click on it, that actually did not work like I thought it was going to, but whatever. Anyway, this is what I want to see. Ramaswamy's critique is set against the backdrop of the ongoing debate of immigration and the H-1B visa program, which we're going to talk about in a second, which allows U.S. companies to employ foreign workers in specialty occupations. This discussion often involves arguments about whether this program displaces American workers or brings necessary talent to the U.S. tech industry. His post indirectly touches on this by suggesting cultural factors influence hiring preferences. So interestingly enough, Nikki Haley revived the Nikki versus Vivek feud from the Republican primary, coming in with this: there is nothing wrong with American workers or American culture. All you have to do is look at the border and see how many want what we have. We should be investing and prioritizing in Americans, not foreign workers. So perhaps an unlikely person coming into this conversation, because Nikki Haley is not really seen as the most pro-MAGA, person there is, but probably most of MAGA would have agreed with Nikki Haley's take on this. And just for fun, let's relive some of Nikki and Vivek's best moments real quick.
Well, I want to laugh at why Nikki Haley didn't answer your question, which is about looking at families in the eye. In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
Your adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And that's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
You're just
the easy answer is... Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem, using identity politics.
And to be clear, it was not just Nikki Haley criticizing Vivek's post. There were a ton of people online criticizing that. My basic point is going to be, how much better do U.S. tech companies really need to do? Why should there be like even a focus at all on that, to be honest? I know the argument, which I'll get to in a second, it's, oh, we need to win the AI race. It's a national security thing. Fine, you gotta like keep American economic dominance, whatever. Not whatever, like it's important, but I think it's more important to like lift up your middle class in a country so the entire country can kind of win all at once. These U.S. tech companies, whether it's a Republican administration or a Democratic administration, have been doing amazing. Apple, $3.9 trillion, USA. NVIDIA, $3.4, USA. Microsoft, Google, Amazon. I mean, right there, the top 5 companies. You can argue if Amazon is exactly a tech company like the other ones are, but that's the 5 biggest companies on earth. Number 7, Meta. Number 8, Tesla. Not really a tech company, but in some ways it definitely is. But even just that, like that's the biggest companies in the entire world. How much help do they need? And there's other big U.S. tech companies. Broadcom, that'd be like a little bit, I think, Like in terms of if it's just tech, I don't know, like if it's exactly considered that, but all these other ones, Visa, MasterCard, I mean, certainly have lots of tech infused into those companies. JP Morgan Chase, I mean, you can go on Oracle for sure. And this is the world. Netflix, this is and there's not many other, there's China's in here once, Taiwan once, Saudi Arabia. US tech companies are doing amazing. And then looking here at the NASDAQ stock market, or stock index, which basically tracks the US tech companies compared to the S&P 500, which has a lot of weighting in tech as it is, but look at the American stock market, which is doing great. The NASDAQ since 96 till now is outperforming it by a ton. How much more help do these US tech companies need? Because even though American tech companies and the stock market is doing great in general, something that hasn't really been discussed in politics that much, there still is so much wealth inequality in the country. So many Americans live paycheck to paycheck. You need an economy and a society that brings up most people who are like capable of working 40 hours a week. And the people get left behind, maybe they just have really bad habits, whatever. But again, I just really don't buy the argument that, we have to win in tech so badly that we need to pull in all these other workers, even if some of the people that could do these jobs are here. I think you have to go have massive skew to the people that are already in your country. Autism capital, Elon Musk responds to this. It's incredible. So basically the right split into two factions, tech right and right. And the tech right was like, hey, we need H-1B visa people to do the jobs. And the right was like, no, we need to hire Americans. And the tech right was like, but you guys are R-word. And the right is like, well, you don't train us. And the tech right is like, you can't out-train being R-word. And while all this was going on, we learned some people really don't like Indians. Elon Musk replies to that. That pretty much sums it up. This was eye-opening. I mean, these are tough statements to defend from Elon and Vivek. Again, America cannot just be like the goal of it to just increase total GDP, to win in AI, to like get enough AI or get enough tech wins to like make your national security better. Those are great things, but to someone living paycheck to paycheck, they have bigger problems than just American dominance. American economic dominance on a global stage matters less and less in your life if you work two jobs and you live in a basement suite or you live with your parents and you want to eventually be able to own a house one day. That matters way more directly in your life, or earn enough money to start a family, meet a woman, meet a man, have enough money to raise this family. It matters way more than the game of winning at AI to all these people that have a ton of money in tech. I just think a lot of them look incredibly out of touch today online, and it's very unfortunate. And continuing on, America should be primarily for the Americans that live there and make it such a great place. There's so many ways that this kind of can show up, but here's a very common one that Elon Musk actually commented on today. Talking about the Second Amendment. It was replying to a post, Tim Pool, I'm going to buy more guns today. Someone replies, I'm an Australian and would like to ask, why do you need guns? Someone replies, so we don't get locked in camps for having a virus with a 99.9% survival rate, which Elon Musk basically gives like the 100, like he agrees with that. You got to prioritize the country for the people that are there. The people that are in America that defend the Second Amendment, they do make the country a more free, a more prosperous place. Countries like Australia or Canada that don't have such a strong Second Amendment had a way deeper lockdown. The Second Amendment just keeps the country, to a large degree, a freer place. But so it doesn't make sense. It's not fair to run America like a venture capital firm and be like, okay, we have this awesome place, this awesome tradition of capitalism, for the most part, a good tradition of rule of law. Now let's like hire foreign workers if we can get them cheap. And I know the argument is, to what degree this happens. Do we just go after the ultimate, like the top talent that we can find globally? Or where does it filter down? Like, do we try to get top 10% talent, top 20% talent, or should we just rather train an American to do that job? That's where the debate is, but I don't think it's fair to have all these systems in place in America and all these people that will uphold those systems, like a strong culture of capitalism. For the most part, Americans just don't go in there and vote in a bunch of socialism. They don't do that, but they do that on like the expectation that there's a deal that they're going to get jobs and high-paying jobs and good jobs and stuff like that. So I think the Second Amendment is actually a pretty illuminating thing, that there's a lot of Americans willing to like keep America, like I said, America and free, they should be involved in the prosperity of America to a massive degree. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to finish the video here. I'm certainly not saying I have this all figured out. This is a fascinating debate, though. It's more interesting than any policy debate that occurred during the actual campaign, which is kind of interesting. Like the Democrats, they don't know how to say really anything, the prominent ones, other than Trump is crazy and we're not Trump. So at least for that, it's like definitely an intellectual exercise, this debate. It's very fascinating. We'll see what happens moving forward. It'll be fun to follow. But with that said, thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have a great day.